But that threat alone woke me up, gave me the energy that I needed to just get back on the road and book it. Um, I mean, literally, we checked in and checked out in about 4 hours. So, there was not enough time for me to actually get proper sleep. And I was angry, right? Like, I was angry. By the time I was able to get the kids packed up, which it was really, just take a shower, get back in the car, I got a text message from her. And it had Mesa City Public Police Department non-emergency line on it, right? And and she said, you think I'm playing, right? And I'm like, man, right? Now, it wasn't the fact that she texted me the phone number to the non-emergency police department. What really got me was that it was a screenshot of the contact. She saved the contact in her phone, right? Who does that? Who does that, right? Why do you have it? I mean, to be fair and honest, I didn't even know police had a non-emergency line. I just thought if you needed the police, you just call 911. That was that. But she's smarter than me. But that made me feel a certain kind of way. So I got mad, right? I'm like, dang, like, okay. So again, I'm driving. We back on the freeway on our way to St. Louis after we checked out. I called the non-emergency line being proactive because I didn't want to get pulled over. I didn't want anything wild to happen. I didn't want that. Black man having a dispute with a white woman, I ain't trying to have that. And I'm not racist. Clearly my kids are mixed. So I called the police myself and I tell them my situation. Said, hey, look, I have 50-50 custody with the kids. My ex-wife just threatened to call you guys. I don't know if she's done that already. Blah, 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 right? Police officer's like, okay, let me take your information. He takes it. He says, hold up, she has already called. There's already been an agent, an officer assigned to this. Let me switch you over to him. So he switches me to him. I get the phone. He's a little confused. He's like, okay, Mr. Jackson, what's going on? So I give him the rundown. Hey, look, my ex, she gave me the kids for 2 months. I'm taking the kids on a road trip to see my family. We'll be back before this time frame. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. He's like, well, mom said that she didn't give you permission to do so, blah, blah, blah. Do you have 50-50 custody? Do you have custody? I said, yeah, man. Like, he was under the impression that most people are when they hear that, like, you got kids with somebody else, that one parent has sole custody, and the father pays child support. And I'm just like, no, man, like, I don't pay child support because I have 50-50 custody, right? I have 50-50 custody and I parent the children 50% of the time, right? What's the difference between us? Like, I don't understand how all of this is working, and like, where's your reason in the question? But he didn't understand how I had 50-50 custody. So after I break it down to him again, he's like, okay, so mom gave you the kids. I'm like, yeah. And so she said, mom gave you the kids, and you can do whatever you want with them. So he says, let me get some more information from mom. So he calls me back in about 10 minutes or so. And he says, okay, so I talked to mom, and mom said basically the same thing that you said, that you guys share 50-50 custody. She gave you the kids for 2 months, and that, she doesn't want you to go to St. Louis, right? But he's like, but I told mom that he has the right to go to St. Louis. Like, you can't stop him from going over state lines, She put up a fight, and she said some stuff, and he was just like, yeah, no. She said, oh, but it's during a pandemic, and he said, I told her, but you're going to California, right? You're in California, and California's numbers and risk is higher than Arizona and Missouri at the time. And California was one of the first states that actually shut down. So your argument is invalid. So she got upset, and she wanted to speak to some manager or whatever, equivalent, what is that, a sheriff? So after that, he calls me back, and he's informing me of all of this. He says, I told her that she can't do anything. He said, you know what, but just a heads up to you. He said, do you have your seatbelt on? I said, yeah. He said, good, always buckle up. I smiled. I laughed. I remember that. Because I could hear it in his voice that he was tired of her ass, you know, because she probably wasn't listening to him either. But he did tell me, he said, hey, look, heads up, in the event that her conference gets canceled and she comes back home, you will have to come back for your seminar, right? Like, I mean, you will have to come back to Arizona to give her her parenting time. You can't just live it out there, you know, uh, and it'll have to cut your trip short. So I told him, thank you for that information. We go to St. Louis, and luckily, like we had no problems, you know. She only called the kids to tell them to go to bed. Now, mind you, this is the summertime, right? And she's calling the kids during a time where she knows that they should be asleep, right? So let's say their bedtime is at 9. She's calling them at 10:30, 11 o'clock just to see if they're asleep. And when they answer, she's ragging on them about not going to sleep. And finally, after like, I don't know, 2 or 3 nights of that, the kids realize we have caller ID. And they just stop answering the phone. I know when you watch this video, you're gonna hear that part. I found that to be hilarious, okay? Because they came to me and I said, hey, look, that your phone's ringing. Because you never called me. I said, your phone's ringing. And it was like, yeah, it's mom. I said, well, she's answering. The kid said, do I have to? I said, you don't. I just wanted you to be aware that your phone is ringing and that, um, what's going on.